ask you a question, and you have to answer this honestly, because I want you to think through this with me the entire show today. When you meet people, you always try to put your best foot forward, right? You wear makeup when you go out. You want to look nice. Sunday best when you go to church, right? I mean, I show up in a suit and tie because I'm wanting to look credible. Okay? But is that honest? Is it really who you are? Is there a point at which your best foot forward is so different from who you really are that it could become a deception? Kind of like bait and switch. I'll show you one thing, but you get something else. What do you think people would say if they knew the real you? Not the professional you or the you that is on that first date behavior, but the person you are behind closed doors when nobody's watching. Now, my first guest, Carrie Lee, found love online. And her Prince Charming, a fighter pilot in an ugly overseas war fighting for our country. Well, it's 32 months later, and she and Al are engaged, but she's never met him in person. Emails, phone calls, lots of pictures and images, but so far, not a face-to-face meeting in the flesh. Take a look.
Back in 2005, I met a gentleman online. I read his profile. He was a retired Air Force pilot, now flying with the Air National Guard. For about a month, we had talked back and forth. He had told me he would be able to meet face-to-face. Then he disappeared. No emails, no phone calls. When he did finally call me, he told me that he had been deployed to Iraq, flying F-15s, and would be there for probably about 6 months. He tried to prove to me he was a pilot by directing me to the Air Force Association website. It said that he had been 11 years regular U.S. Air Force, was a lieutenant colonel, and 18 years in the Air National Guard. Because there was already a really good attraction, I was willing to wait. I quit dating. I took my profile offline. There came a time in 2007, he was so depressed. He told me that the tenants he had in his New York brownstone had left, which meant that the bank was on his back, and sweethearted me volunteered to help. I sent him $3,000, and then I sent him another $2,500. Al still owes me right now $5,500. I have never met Al in person. We've shared approximately 600 emails and 800 IMs for 2.5 years. And he was so supportive. He would send me love songs. He sent me an email that, to me, was a proposal. It was a song, and the title of the song was Marry Me. He made the comment, "You are my life. I want to make you my wife." I fully believe it was a real proposal. Everything that this man was fit with who my Prince Charming was. I have never met Al.
Apparently, you guys had a lot of exchange back and forth. This isn't just like, it was like, hi, oh, well, let's get married. I mean, you guys really unfolded this relationship across time, right?
That's very true. There were over 600 emails.
Can I have the emails and the instant messages? Now, instant messages, you can just ping each other back and forth, right?
Not on a cell phone, on the computer.
Okay, on the computer. So,
oh my word.
What we have here, no, that's what I'm saying. What I have here are just boxes of, this box full of things that I never knew such a day could come. I never knew such a love could be inside of one. I guess that's the song, maybe, or something. All of our long, long days will be remembered. I mean, these are intimate exchanges between the two of y'all, and you know, there are tons and tons of these things. I mean, I've got them stacked in here everywhere in the sun. So you got to know, I mean, you shared a lot of information, right?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Now, you never saw him except for pictures.
That's correct.
But he did see you?
Yes.
Okay. By a webcam?
Technology is incredible these days, yes. I had a webcam. In fact, I actually even sent one over to him in Afghanistan so that we could start webcamming together.
So he could hook up and...
But he never got the box.
You got on the webcam and let him see you?
Correct.
Okay. What was his reaction to that?
You'll find it in there. It's wow.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there were sure there are a lot of wows in there. But you thought he was the one, right? You took your profile down. You said, this is it. This is the kind of guy that has the values, the beliefs, the focus, the things that I'm interested in. And I mean, you guys actually talked about the logistics, the date, not just the starry-eyed stuff, but the real things about life.
Yes.
And he was willing to do that and even take emergency leave when you were going to have some surgery done, right?
That's what he said, yes.
Okay. So we decided at your request to find out exactly who this Al character really was. Now, we told Carrie Lee that we would track him down. And when they brought this to me, I said, look, let's find who this guy is. Let's find where he is. If we have to go to Iraq, then we'll send somebody to Iraq. If we have to go to Afghanistan, we'll send somebody to Afghanistan. So we started looking, and this went from Maine to Florida and now to Los Angeles to get this lady some answers. In that most people tend to trust themselves, we believe that we know our spouses, our siblings, our friends, but do we really? What happens when the person you believe that you have fallen in love with might be hiding and is a completely different person, has an alter ego? Well, after 32 months of a relationship that was online, a cyber relationship with a man named Al, Carrie Lee says she was hooked. She admits, I was madly in love with this fighter pilot that was in the war. And when she contacted the show, we thought that he sounded a little too good to be true. It just sounded fishy. We were concerned about it, and so was Carrie Lee's brother, Leon. Take a look.
Al was constantly changing his story, where he was at and where he was going and when he was coming home. This is the original picture that Al had placed on his profile. And through some investigation, this is the John Gavin website, who is the actor, I think 50s, 60s. And if you go all the way down this little website, guess what we find? And I even emailed Al, and I said, you're not going to believe this, but the resemblance is uncanny. He said he was constantly recognized as a movie star. When Christmas came and he didn't come home, I started to have some serious doubts. Once I got suspicious, I asked my brother Leon to help me do some investigation.
I'm very distraught that my sister's been scammed like this. I reached a higher level of suspicion after he didn't come back from the military for Christmas. I didn't approve of the relationship because there was nothing concrete, but it was all cyber. I found a blog on an Air Force Association site where this man was answering a question that somebody else had posed, and the statements indicated that he was older than what he had told Carrie.
I was always under the impression that Al was 51, but we discovered that he was actually 61. I've been lied to, I've been betrayed. He sent me pictures of his car with the license plate on it. And so I took it over to the police department and had them run the plates. They did come back to Al. This whole time, he told me that he's been in Iraq. He's actually in Florida. He may not have ever even been a pilot. I was waiting for a ghost, a phantom. Dr. Phil, that's why I contacted you. I needed to find out the truth.
Well, Carrie asked me to help her dig up the truth, and with the help of investigator Harold Kopus, take a look at what happened.
Well, I'm finally going to Florida. I'm a little bit nervous, but knowing it's the first step in a long journey that's been coming for a very long time. The reason I want to confront Al, being able to see his reaction and being able to ask the question why, I really feel that's my right.
I'm in Florida. Dr. Phil's asked me to come here to see what we can do to help Carrie Lee.
There's a gentleman that you've sent some money to. He supposedly is in the Air Force.
That's his photograph. That's supposedly our guy.
Is he married?
According to him, he's never been married.
Do you have any idea what kind of cars he may have?
I've got pictures, one that is a Grand Prix.
I found an address, and I think that address is only about 8 miles from this location. Let's just see if we can find him, okay?
I'm about 3/10 of the mile from where we think Al lives. This is the street right here. This is the house right here.
That's the Pontiac Grand Prix. That's a Legion of Valor plate. He told me it had a Legion of Valor. It's confirmation. He's put enough truth with all the lies just to make it plausible. Are you thinking of a plan?
Say we knock on his door tomorrow morning.
I received some information this morning. It's a criminal record we found on Al. This could be a traffic ticket, or it could be something far greater than that. You're nervous.
Well, my nervous level has just, gone up exponentially, yes.
I would like to walk up, dressed to the nines, and say, honey, I'm home, when he answers the door. I've dreamed about that.
Well, I see the car, so we're gonna go meet Al. Al?
What is that about?
Oh, are you Al?
Do I sound like Al?
No, you don't. May I see Al?
No, he's sleeping. What is this about?
My name's Harold Kopus. I'm here to see Al for just a minute. If you could ask him just come to the door, I'd appreciate it.
Well, that's not likely to happen. Who is this?
I'm a private investigator.
About what?
Well, I need to talk with Al. Are you his wife?
Yeah. Well, in a manner of speaking.
If you just ask him to come to the door, I'd appreciate it.
He said he's really not here. I was asleep.
Well, Al's here. You just got through telling me he was sleeping.
We always say we're sleeping.
I know he's inside that house. Of course, there's confirmation of a wife. I also know that he's too chicken to come out and meet me. I'm very pissed. I am infuriated. This man has put me through hell, and he can't even have the guts to walk out here and face me. I bought this box. It is the Christmas gifts that I had ready for Al the last 2 Christmases when he was supposed to come home. I want to leave these here. He needs to have them. Al, this is Carrie Lee. Please come to the door. Al, I know everything. And I mean everything. I have your Christmas presents here for the last 2 years. Oh, this is so childish. How many times have you told me about the Air Force Creed and what it meant to you? What happened to the honor, the integrity? I guess honor is dead.
Okay, now let's see what we know for sure. He said he was currently flying a plane in Saudi Arabia, but we found him living in Florida with another woman who says she's his wife, then quasi.
You define that one. I have no idea.
Harold, that's what you said, right? Quasi?
Quasi-wife.
She even then changed it to say, well, I just live with him.
Okay, so wife, quasi-wife, I just live with him. But he's supposed to be flying a plane in Saudi Arabia, and he's living in sunny Florida. He says he's a lieutenant colonel in the Air National Guard flying F-15s for ground support in the war, but he's not registered as a pilot, and he says he flies for Delta when he's back home. They say they can't confirm or deny, but he's not registered there. He says he's 51. It turns out, we find out that he's 61. He says he has 3 brothers and a twin sister. As it turns out, he has one brother that's now deceased. He says he's going to pay you back the $5,500 that you gave him.
I knew I was going to get blasted.
and he hasn't given you a dime. He says that he's going to talk to the military chaplain about marrying you so he can put you on benefits, and that his brother is a surgeon that can do some reconstructive surgery that you have planned for for your jaw. But of course his brother's dead. So it's going to be hard to do the surgery. And he was going to take leave, and he says he owns a brownstone in New York City, and that's kind of what he needed some money for, right? Because his tenants moved out. And Harold, you found no record of him owning any property anywhere, not in New York, Florida, Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, Iraq, or anywhere, right?
Nothing.
And your brother, he's been nervous about this from the beginning, right?
But he's been very supportive of me and hasn't really vocalized much of that until, of course, I started having really strong doubts. I've been completely scammed. I feel that none of this was real. Just 3 hours ago, he was IMing me and frantic because he couldn't get a hold of me. What is going through this man's head?
That is the questions I want answered.
Well, we're talking about people who deceive spouses, relatives, girlfriends, boyfriends by pretending to be a completely different person. Now, Carrie Lee started suspecting that her online boyfriend turned fiancé, Al, wasn't who he appeared to be. And after 32 months of believing he was a fighter pilot in the Iraq War, Afghanistan and Iraq, currently flying F-15s overseas, she traveled to Florida with the help of our investigator, Harold Kopus, to try and find out. Now, both he and Carrie Lee confronted Al at the house. He refused to come to the door, which I thought was really punk, that he wouldn't come talk to you and look you in the eye. Later that day, Al agreed to meet with Carrie Lee for the first time in 32 months. He said, I'm going to come out, I'll meet with you, but with no cameras. Take a look.
Came up to my room and found an IM from Al. He has agreed to meet me tonight here at the hotel if there are no camera crews around.
For security reasons, I'm gonna be right there near you. Okay, let's go. Let's do this, okay?
Now turning the camera off.
I finally got to meet him. It was emotional. He was extremely nervous, agitated, almost in tears. It was almost like a child who got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Al is much older than he said he is. He's a fairly attractive man, and he's definitely not John Gavin. My perceptions were correct. He does have extremely deep feelings. I'm a little concerned that it might even be borderline obsession. He did tell me, yes, that he did work for Delta, that he had been 11 years in the Air Force, and now 18 years in the Air National Guard. When I asked Al about being over in Iraq and Afghanistan, he says, I was over there in 2002 and 2004. I just didn't tell you when. The woman at his house, he tells me a lifelong friend and is a very emotionally disturbed woman, and there's no one to take care of her. So he lives in the upstairs of the house, she lives in the downstairs because she has nowhere to go. Al was so adamant that we don't need help, we just need each other, that he loves me more than anything in the world. Tried very hard to get my room number, which of course I didn't give him. He wanted to immediately just run off and get married and leave all of this behind. I said, you've got to be kidding me. I don't know who you are. I needed to be able to sit there in front of him and look him in the eyes and say, why? Why would you do this to someone you cared about? And all he could do was apologize. There is no way I'll be sucked back into this. I've been manipulated now for the last 2.5 years, and I want to learn how to keep myself from ever being manipulated like this again. I've been a fool for working on now 3 years.
Well, Carrie Lee's brother, Leon, is on the phone. Leon, are you there?
Yes, thank you for the invitation, Dr. Phil.
And you've been listening the whole time, right?
Yes, I have.
Okay, I want you to listen to what we're getting ready to talk about and see what your thoughts are about this. Harold, you were there for security purposes. We had him, in a halo around you. Because I understood that you kissed him, that you were patting his... I mean, am I crazy here or what?
No, you're not. Holding hands, it was something you would expect for two people who were engaged, lovers or whatever.
And he started emailing you after you left the house, right? Because I've got him here. He says, I hope you told those people that you no longer require their services, those people being us. I'm sure they filled you with negative thoughts, but if love is to prevail, we need to solve this together. Where did they go? Back home? Or are they convincing you that I don't love you? I need to know. With all that said, I love you so very much, I love you, I love you. And you responded.
Not in the way that it's being made public right now.
Clear it up.
Well, I'm going to. First off, Al was the one that was holding my hand. I am still at the point where I'm trying to get my money back from this man. I wasn't going to just completely shove him away. When the kiss that he's talking about, it was more like I was kissing a child who was absolutely sobbing, like crying his heart out. It wasn't a lover's kiss. It wasn't... You understand what I'm saying? It was more, I felt sorry for him at this point. I've got a lot of pity for this man.
I do understand the words. I got the English language part of it. But what I don't understand and what I'm trying to give you a wake-up call about is, look, are you telling me that you haven't waffled since you were at that front door, that he hasn't started pecking at you again?
No.
You haven't weakened in any way.
Absolutely not.
You're done. You're finished. You're
completely
fried.
done.
You're not going to have anything to do with him. Because I've got your responses to him here, And
Now, Dr. Phil, understand my responses are still to keep communication with this man because I need to get my money back. That is the only reason you're going to read those responses that are sounding loving and supportive in any way, shape, or form on that.
okay,
it
but
has nothing to do.
if you're saying that you're manipulating him now,
Exactly.
I'm liking that.
I am.
Because I want you to get your
No.
$5,500 back.
That is what you're reading there. That is not that my heart is going to, it's gone out to him that I feel sorry for this man, yes. But am I going to be back involved with him? Absolutely not.
Okay, did you tell our producer, Astra, yesterday that you thought he was scamming you, but now you believe that he actually does love you, but just went too far?
Yes, I did say that.
That's waffling. Leon, help me.
No. It's not waffling that my heart is going back to this man. It's what I believe. I don't believe the man actually intended to scam me. I don't know, I mean, to get the money. All right, guys, all right, come on.
Okay, Leon, no, you come on.
Originally, you got to believe that he was scamming you. At some point in time, you might have gotten caught up so bad that he couldn't find a way out. But you guys developed a relationship, and you definitely, I have to say, Dr. Phil, she's not waffling now. I believe that totally. And secondly, I think one of the reasons that she was trying to kind of keep things light with him after that initial meeting is because there was a goal of getting him on your show too. You would have a lot more insight of what he may need in order to stop doing this kind of thing as much as she may need to stop doing what she's been doing.
Well, Leon, I think you bring up a good point. We invited him till the cows came home to be on the show, to be on the phone where he didn't even have to we'd never see his face. We'd just put up the movie star or whatever to talk about it, and he wouldn't do it. But the question I've got, has Carrie Lee learned anything from this situation, or is she going to be vulnerable to this again? I'm not picking on you. I want to be sure that there is great clarity here about what is true and what is not. After 32 months of dating Al online, Carrie Lee says she suspected that her boyfriend turned fiancé wasn't who he portrayed himself to be. Now, she says he claimed to be a fighter pilot in the war, currently overseas flying F-15s, but she later found out that he was actually 10 years older than he said he was, which put him at 61. He was living in Florida with a quasi-wife slash roommate slash door answering sleep master who just, we always say we're asleep. That's how it is at my house. Is Robin there? She's asleep. It defies logic, but the whole point here is you've got to understand a couple of things. Number one, you don't have to settle for that. You are a beautiful, intelligent, articulate woman. You have a life, you have a career, you have so much to offer people. You don't have to settle for somebody that's selling you a bill of goods. So forget that. I mean, you sure don't have to do that. Secondly, you think that he may actually have fallen in love with you and just taken it too far. I don't know. I've not met the man. What I do know is that he perpetrated not a one, not a two, but a 3-year lie with you. He phonied up pictures. He sent you articles saying that he had been selected to fly the F-22, and when you found the actual article independent of the copy he sent you, his name wasn't in it. He put his name in the article and sent it to you and said, well, look here. What do you think was going to happen? That you were eventually going to get married and then he's going to say, oh, yeah, well, I'm not going to fly the F-22. It turns out they got enough guys.
I asked him that question. I absolutely asked him. I said, how did you expect this to end?
My advice to you is that you forget the $5,500. You're not ever going to see that. I'm sure quasi-wife has soaked that up with groceries and rent or whatever. If the guy has a gut in his body, if he has any kind of integrity, he will send you that money, but you don't need to continue to just kind of lead him on to get the $5,500. Trust me, I believe that's gone, gone, gone. What you need to do is cut off contact, change your email, change your contact numbers, change everything you can so this guy doesn't show up on your doorstep stalking you and become some kind of a security risk to you.
Dr. Phil, I did that this morning.
At about 6 a.m., I had sent him a long letter, again trying to get him to appear at least telephonically here with you and me.
Thank you.
But I took a page out of Harold's book, and I got very, very tough with this man and told him there were 2 things he had to do, and that was one of them. The second one was starting to send money to me, but via my brother because I was moving. If he didn't, I was getting rid of my phone number, changing it, my email address. There would be no contact whatsoever.
You need to stop contact with this guy. He has wasted 3 years of your life. What have you missed? What relationships have you missed? What joy, what fun, what things have you missed because this guy dominated your mind and your heart and your focus? Don't give him 1 more minute of 1 more day.
My mama had always told me that my loyalty was my greatest asset and my greatest liability, and I've been kicked in the teeth because of it.
Yeah, well, it's misplaced here.
Yes, sir, it is.
And it's time to move on. So really, let him talk to your brother, and if you hear from him, let Harold know. So we can stay on top of the situation, okay? Well, we're talking today about alter egos. When a person chooses to live 2 different lives, tell somebody one set of facts when their life is another. Now, Dean says he feels his wife, Deb, has a split personality. For the past 3 years, Deb pretends to be a 35-year-old married woman with no kids, no grandkids, just 2 dogs. But in her private life, she's actually 52, is a grandmother, has 3 adult children, and 4 grandkids. Take a look.
My wife, Deb, has an alter ego.
In one life, I'm a booking agent for rock bands. And then in my other life, I am a 52-year-old grandmother. It is terrifying to say on national TV because people think I'm 35.
When she's ready to go out for a show with the band, it's a big deal. Clothes, earrings, shoes.
If I didn't dye my hair, I would be completely gray.
Debbie likes spiked hair, wild. The makeup is heavier than normal.
I always make sure I have on big, bold, funky earrings because that's hip.
I think Deb has a split personality. When Deb's at home, it's typical housewife.
Oh, you got a poop scoop too.
When she's going out, it's a different person, younger, upbeat, and ready to go.
When I'm asked if I have children, I will reply, I have 2 dogs at home, Dog Mommy. That's my nickname.
She does not wear her wedding ring when she goes out. She should be proud that she's married.
When the bands come to my house, I remove all the pictures of my children. I change the picture on my laptop. I usually have my grandchildren, but I change it to my dogs.
When we know a band is coming, I get the lecture every time.
My husband and I go over a question and answer session because my husband always slips. One time when the bands were here, Dean yells, "Grandma!" And I look at Dean and I'm like, I am going to kill you.
If she's close to me, she'll kick me.
If Dean is not able to keep up the facade, I'm going to have to ship him to a hotel. 2 years ago, my son was living with me.
Deb made her son, Stephen, pretend to be her cousin.
He was pissed off. I am a big liar and a big hypocrite, and I despise people who are hypocrites.
I've tried to talk to Deb about this, and I can't get through to her.
For me to lose my alter ego scares the shit out of me because it has become a part of me.
Well, you realize you're on the Dr. Phil show. And
yes, and I know it's either going to...
Millions and millions and millions of people watch this show every day, and that is the camera. So you're kind of blowing your cover, aren't you?
I hate hypocrites. I hate liars. I teach my children and my grandchildren, do not lie, it's better to tell the truth. And here I am, big L and big H. I'm a hypocrite and a liar. And I hate it.
And I'm tired of it.
Well, yeah, she's sending you, she's making you hide and go to a hotel or hide.
It's the same every time the bands come over.
We have a question
house.
and answer session that we go through. A week before the band gets there, we go through question and answers. The day before the band gets there, we go through question and answers. The day the band gets there, we go through question and answers. And he still screws up.
No, he doesn't. He just can't forget who he is. He can't forget that you've got adult children and 4 grandchildren. That's just kind of in your DNA because it's the truth. You're the one screwing up.
But he has to.
And I don't know how to say this without being indelicate.
Go ahead, hit me.
You don't look 35.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not trying to, you're a very attractive woman. Seriously, you really are. You're very well groomed. You're very attractive. I'm 57, and I wouldn't have guessed you to be 35. I would have guessed you to be older than that. I mean, do people, when you tell people, I mean, it'd be like me telling people, yeah, I'm 34.
No, I don't.
I'm 34?
No, when a band asks me how old I am, I say, well, how old do you think I am? And whatever they say, I go, yep.
Okay. Well, don't worry about fronting yourself out then. They've been smoking too much dope or something. I don't know. I mean, really, what did you really think it how did you decide 35 was the magic number? Why
because
35?
That's what the bands have been telling me. 35, they said 35, 36, 37, somewhere in there. And I just go, yes.
Yeah, people tell me I have thinning hair.
Yeah.
But listen, I mean, don't you think that you're missing a lot of who you really are? I mean, if I'm in a band and somebody can get me bookings, they're making me money, they're getting things handled, stuff's happening, I wouldn't care if they were 12 or 112 if they're getting the job done.
But they will change their perception of me. They will start looking at me as the grandma that can't be hip, the grandma that can't like rock music, the grandma that can't say the F word to them, because that's how we communicate with each other.
So you dress hip and talk hip, and like, what do you say that's hip talk?
Like if they're talking to me, they go, yeah, we're really down with that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm down with that too. You know, I don't talk that way normally. Or they'll say something sweet. You know, I go, yeah, that is sweet. You know, and I don't talk that way normally, but I talk that way with them. And when they call me, you know, I'll say, how the are you doing? They go, well, I'm doing good. You know, and they're allowed one call an hour. And if they call me more than one time in an hour, I'll say, what the do you want now? You know, so that's how I talk to them.
So you're throwing F-bombs and saying things are sweet.
Yes.
Yeah. Boy, that'd fool me.
I do not tell anyone that I have 3 children or 4 grandchildren. I'm not denying them, I just don't acknowledge them. I am scared to death of being viewed as a grandma. If they were here and a band was coming and I had to tell them they had to leave, it would rip me apart inside, but I know that's what I have to do.
Well, we're talking about people whose private life is at odds with their public persona. Now, even though Deb is 52 years old, has been married to Dean for 18 years, has 3 adult children and 4 grandkids, she says she must pretend to be a 35-year-old married woman whose only kids are her 2 dogs, and that she does this for the sake of her career. Now, Dean says Deb's just gone too far, is referring to their only son as a cousin in public. Do they think Dean's 35?
No, they think he's married to a much younger woman.
Okay. So, and how old are you?
56.
And you're okay with that?
Yes, perfectly.
You're perfectly okay with that? So they think you just married an older man?
Right.
Okay. But you don't let him say much?
No, he's not allowed to talk.
Yeah.
He screws up.
Okay, and why are they coming to your house?
Because they stay with me when they come to Dallas to do a show.
So they don't have to go to a hotel.
Right, they stay at my house. And I have to child-proof it. I have to...
You take down all the pictures?
I take down all the pictures when my
grandkids'
grandkids' toys were there. I had to give their toys away so that there would be no toys there. Kids' toys, we put away the kids' movies.
So, if these are like young rocker dudes.
Yeah, they're all in their 20s.
And we've got one of those in our family. Our youngest son, Jordan's a young rocker dude. I'm assuming they probably don't watch the Dr. Phil show a lot.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's my son, Jordan.
Okay.
And he knows I'm 57.
But you're not in the music industry.
But because you said this is a must because you're in the entertainment industry, but you're not on stage.
No, but I'm in the background, and it's all about age. It's all about, are you hip enough to understand what these rockers have to go through and what they have to do on stage? And if they look at me as a grandma, they're going to go, okay, we got to tone it down. We got to start respecting her and not talking like we do with her now.
I mean,
Yes.
You really think that?
Yes, I really seriously, being on this show, it's either going to make me or break me. I'm going to lose all my bands, and I'm going to have to shut my business down, and I'll plank my ass on my couch and sit there for the rest of my life. Or the bands are going to say, you know what, we don't give a crap.
So you just thought you'd just flip the coin and see what happened because you're tired of living the lie?
Exactly. I am tired of living this way because I have been struggling with this, and my bands trust me. I consider myself honest except for my life. I don't share my age and my children. Yeah. But other than that, I'm a very honest person.
Maybe they'll decide it's cool and they'll just start calling you like G-Mama or something, you know? Could happen. You could just be...
Very possible, very possible. I don't know. This scares the crap out of me.
Well, don't you feel relieved, though? I mean,
yes,
it's out
it does.
there.
It feels like the load's
there.
been taken off.
And you've got to feel relieved because you get to stay home and you can talk and everything.
And I'm proud of her for doing this.
Well, I am too. Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link in the description and tell me what in the world is going on.